All right, I think we're live. We're live here again to chat about hobby-related things. I guess I'm here with Greg, Eric, and our one of our old friends, Chad. I feel you were one of the people we played the Warhammer 40,000 with the most back in the day. Like we actually played it at one time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
hard
once
to
a
believe.
year, but yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
that's fair. It was a little more than that, but
a little bit.
maybe.
but that was still a lot better than what happens now. But I'm
Yeah.
Sure.
glad to have you here.
Glad to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, no, nice to be chatting about some of this stuff again, particularly with the upcoming release of all these Eldar models. It's nice to,
Yeah, you were the
be able to.
resident Eldar player. I guess that and Space Wolves, right?
Correct.
Are you excited about the new Eldar stuff, or is it just like,
I mean, is it exciting because it's probably one of the model lines that has not had releases for a very long time. Like a lot of it's still from early 2000s or so.
yeah,
Yeah, and they're actually doing a pretty substantial overhaul, at least in the sense of most of the models are getting redone.
Yeah.
How much of a design shift is, debatable, but they're still doing a fair amount to them, so that's nice. And because even if the models are pretty similar to their old counterparts, they will at least fit together better,
they'll be
have
cast a
more
lot better.
options and
Yeah.
stuff
Well,
of that
so it's
nature.
is
I-
interesting. Like I feel Eldar in general are one of the more major players in terms of the different Warhammer 40,000 races and stuff. So it's a little almost ridiculous that it took them this long to finally do something other than like release a character
hmm
here or there. Or
mhm.
Well, you know what? Maybe we're getting ahead of
we
ourselves and
are.
saying too much about the Fickle Eldar.
So I guess we could take a little time and talk about what we've been working on as of late.
Working on nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, but I guess that hasn't been entirely true on my part. In that, I think, Adam, you have up recently
hmm
had a blog post kind of building a 3D printed Space Marine created
Mm.
uh, or printed from a design by Paul Friedrich von Bargen. Um, and so it was fun to kind of get some of those 3D prints, which are primarily essentially just Primaris scaled Space Marines with the various armor marks from like kind of Heresy era stuff. And the
hmm
one that I assembled was a Mark V one, but he's also made Mark III, Mark IV, and some Terminator stuff. And Adam, I guess with your help, we did a little conversion stuff, primarily or almost entirely only just to add some change some of their weapons and such, which was kind of fun to somewhat get back into doing stuff since the start of 2022. And
hmm
now the hope is that I actually prime and paint the model with another Dark Angel I have sitting here. So, and I think that'll happen shortly or slowly. We'll see.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like painted, and also along with your other recently painted Dark Angels.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
excited just the fact that I can just slot them into like a kill team I have and have some options there. And kill team itself, I mean, admittedly, it's only one game of the new version, but I thought it was more compelling than a lot of Games Workshop's previous games, like a little bit minimizing some of the inane dice rolling and focusing on stuff happening. So, yeah. What are
that's
you
good.
doing, Chad?
So I've been for the last year or so buying a lot of old metal sculpts off eBay or similar things. A lot of aspect warriors. I mean, I had some of them before, but finding ones that kind of fill the gap.
hmm
Um, Particularly recently, I've been working on painting a bunch of warp spiders. I think I have a 6-man squad plus X-Arc that I'm
They're
working on right
great.
Nice.
now. So
Those should have been the first Eldar models they revealed with new plastic sculpts because they literally haven't changed for like over 20 years, for longer than
it's
that.
like 96, 95, somewhere around there that they were
Wow.
last.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, admittedly, I still like those models though.
Yeah, I like them too.
Like I
Well,
feel
I do I do too, but one of the problems I'm finding is that as I'm painting them, they're so unbalanced on the base
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
set it down, it just falls forward.
yeah.
that's tedious. I feel
Yeah,
it's
so you have to
interesting. Yeah.
Like the Howling Banshee models, they were redesigned
So many
like
times.
5 times or something.
yeah, something like that.
Like the classic Chris Fitzpatrick ones, they were like one of the more major redesigns, but then they redesigned them again, and then maybe even one more time, slightly, and then they made the plastic ones more
I find it
recently.
it's interesting that like most of the redesigns and re-releases of them haven't really changed much, even though a lot of them have had various iterations. To the point, like even the most recent ones that they revealed are still not that different. That having some of the old ones, they're still very usable, I feel.
Yeah, you
And
can mix them in.
I think with a lot of sort of the audit um the weird oddities of anatomy and such that have been maintained in some of these newer models that were revealed, like some of the slight wonkiness of the old sculpts, I almost like get more character and I like
Mhm.
them better in the fact that like this stuff will never be corrected. So like let's just go back to the like the source, the original conception of the models and like feel that's kind of fun.
Well, like I sort of feel like the original Goodwin sculpts for a lot of the Eldar are still some of my favorite, and
And they
he's
still inspire a lot of the newer sculpts.
yeah,
Oh
and then
yeah.
like I think for some of the original Eldar sculpts Goodwin did, and then I think he redid some of them more like slightly more updated ones, which were also good, but I still think some of the original ones I really like them. And
Mhm.
there's the one old Eldar Farseer model who's just like pointing, I think, and he has a sword on his
Mm-hmm.
back and a weird helmet. Like that I feel is one of my favorite of the older Eldar sculpts, and so I guess I have
It's a great model, and it's hard to find now. Like even
yeah.
on
Yeah,
eBay and stuff, it's hard to
unfortunately.
find that for like reasonable prices.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
sort of feel like I know I purchased one on eBay to send to another fellow hobbyist in like across the sea. I should have bought one then too.
Just have to keep looking on eBay, right?
Yeah. Because I feel every year I paint one or two old hammer models, and I feel that would be
Mhm.
a good candidate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Adam, what are you working on?
Um so as
Space
of
Marines?
obviously that's what everyone loves the most, right? Um but so we've
Unfortunately.
yeah. Recently or I feel like several months ago one of Lunac 7070, who a lot of viewers know them for their like larger true scale space marines and such. He went and like resculpted and redesigned some, I think they were it was like Mark II power armor, and he
Mhm.
made casts of them so he could build a whole bunch more marines. And well, a while ago he gave me a bunch or one of those cast marines, and I'm only now finally getting to that and trying to make something out of the little plastic components. I think on his Instagram somewhere he has some pictures of, let's
Yeah,
see if I
most
can
of
find them.
his Iron Hand models were
Yeah.
kind of created from this cast.
So
That
I've been spending the past few days playing around with those and reworking some of the detailing and such. And one of the things that I really kind of like about them is the notion that they actually cast them in multiple separate little components, such that you have more flexibility with kind of what you do and how you build the model, which, mind you, in some regards, it's tricky to like actually pose them and like look convincing because like there are so many little parts, which like
Yeah, look at all that.
yeah. So, but regardless, I've been playing around with that, and one of the things that I thought might be kind of fun, I got a whole bunch of different sized metal like ball bearings, and I'm adding some of those little ball bearings between some of the joints and other pieces to like kind of aid in assembling the different joints and such.
Yeah, give like more articulation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think I'm going to, like, once I finish modifying the different pieces, I might then actually make a mold of the different components to then cast some more of them, because like I think it would be kind of fun to make more Marines in this older armor, and then I'll probably give Lunex some of the casts as well, and see if what they can do with them. But
Yeah, that's cool.
I've also like kind of adding in more of like a little more defined like collar and stuff around the neck and whatnot to make it easier to slot in other heads and such.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've been working on. It's been kind of fun to work on a project like this, because I guess when I made like the One True Scale-esque Space Marine for like the Thorn Moons stuff, I mean, that was several years ago now, and I don't even know, back when I was doing that, I think I was just using straight green stuff. And so now that I've started using Milliput and Epoxy Sculpt, and
It's a little better or
yeah,
easier to
and,
work with.
I do a better job of like lubricating the different sculpting tools and whatnot. Like, it's much easier to do really any of the stuff that I'm working on now.
Yeah, actually, right back there, you can kind of see there's like a bell jar, but one of some of Lunax 77's creations are back there. He
Hmm.
made a
Yeah.
Astral Claws Space Marine and a Dreadnought that he gifted to us, which I guess he is up his account there for a little while back, which is pretty cool. And I feel that was part of our inspiration. Like, you know what, we should really dig that model out and try to make a model out of it. Like, it'd be fun.
The model's is very hard to pose, so like I'm impressed. He does a nice job with the cast, doing all sorts of stuff and combining components of like other like Primarch scaled models and stuff.
Yeah, no, he does a lot. I feel he doesn't, even though he made that cast, he doesn't tend to sort of rest on those laurels and still like incorporates lots of weird pieces from all over the place.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping that I'll make a new cast of the different components, and then that'll
I'd
help
say then
him.
we'll make a whole bunch of them, but we won't.
I mean, I feel I'll make like one or two.
Yeah, maybe I'll make one and paint it as a Dark Angel or something.
Yeah, Chad, if you're interested, if I'm successful with this, we can give you one, and you can try and make one.
Make a
Certainly.
fun.
I know you
The whole
love
casting process
Okay.
seems quite daunting from what I've seen on our blog. So
it it's been a while since I've really done a whole lot of it. I feel the last thing was for Mordheim, the 20-year Mordheim event where I cast a little invisible dude. I think that really was the last time I really did anything with it. It's not necessarily that hard to do. It's just the most annoying thing I found was having a place to do all of the stuff, because it's really loud. Like, you're using the different like air compressors and stuff, and have always been in an apartment, and like, God, fuck. It's so fucking loud, and I felt bad like doing it really any time of the day, so
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
yeah, we can manage it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes,
Well,
that's
I
what I've
guess
been working on.
with that said, yeah, Greg, you've acknowledged you haven't really done anything in terms of hobby related stuff, right? So with that in mind, might we want to just shift into
this, yeah, boy.
talking about everyone's favorite space elves?
Yeah.
All right, well, if we're ready, I'm gonna hit record here and go into the thing that I say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, starting. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dragged into Turbolasers, a Between the Bolter and Me podcast. And I'm your host, Eric Wire, and I'm here with my two brothers, Adam Wire,
Hey, everybody.
Greg Wire,
Hey, everyone.
and I'm excited that for the first time we have our friend Chad on here to talk about space elves.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, nice to have you here, Chad. I feel we've off and on been playing Warhammer 40,000 with you. I mean, I guess it's been in a pretty long hiatus, but particularly
At
in high
least
school,
15 years.
we played now and again. And with the slow trickle of Eldar models, I feel every time we see one, I kind of think about you and your Eldar and whatnot. And now that it seems Games Workshop's next big thing is kind of revamping and revitalizing a lot of these old Eldar model kits, as well as even sort of reintroducing the Corsairs and such. I thought it would be a fun opportunity to get you on here and talk about it and just sort of reflect on the Eldar, what they were, are, and where they're going. So nice to
Glad to
have
be
you.
with you guys. I mean, I complain you guys for getting me into the hobby in the first place. So
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Also, how many years ago was it where they released that boxed game of the Howling Banshee models fighting the Dark Eldar? I don't remember what it's called.
probably 3 years ago at this point.
Was it really that
Dang.
long ago?
I mean, it was
Probably.
before the pandemic, so
So that's true.
So whenever
yeah.
that was released, Chad, I gave you some money to buy that. So
yeah.
we were thinking like, oh, maybe we'll get and do this and play a game or something. And well, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, thank
But,
you,
like,
pandemic.
But the idea was there.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I have not touched the box much since, so still ready for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ready. It's ready. Well, when you saw all these kind of the new releases or new reveals and such to be released sometime soon, was there anything that stood out to you, Chad, that was like, wow, this like is exciting, or this is something you didn't anticipate but are excited about?
I mean, one of the big things is that they're bringing out new Phoenix Lords. I mean, the current Phoenix Lords are from what, second, early third edition.
Yeah.
So I
think
mean,
yeah,
that's a
second
huge revamp
edition,
to the
yeah.
line. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
and
it,
it is
Which was the
revamping all
first
the
thing?
aspect warriors also.
mhm.
Which was the first Phoenix Lord that they redesigned? Was it
The Howling
from that
Banshee one.
Yeah,
aforementioned?
I
Jane's
think
are.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the first one to go from like not metal or
Mhm.
resin.
Well, so I feel the biggest surprise was just that they're actually revisiting the Eldar.
It's true.
Because for how I would like to say popular and how important they are as like one of the major players in the universe, it seems a little ridiculous that they've done so little for the range for so long, to the point where we were talking about this earlier, like some of them, like the warp spiders for instance, have never been revisited. So whereas others like the Howling Banshees have been reworked like 5 times or something. And so I
Yeah.
guess to no one's surprise, they haven't shown new warp spiders yet, but it could still happen. And I'm
I
hoping
feel,
it does
yeah, it
eventually.
is interesting how slow they had been with the Eldar to the point that, like we were saying, with that box with the um, new Drazar and the Howling Banshees and whatnot, that seems relatively recent, but it's over 2 years old. And then before that, I guess they at some point maybe redesigned the jet bikes, but
And I think that they also had plastic Warwalkers, right? Is
Yeah,
that
they
true?
updated Warwalkers
So,
for the old
like,
metal skull.
it's not quite fair to say they've done nothing, but
it's been slow. They were
yeah.
I mean,
never like a major focus.
compared to Space Marines, they had nothing happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I generally it's however you feel about what the new models look like, it's still exciting that they're getting treatment more like the Necron range did,
Mm.
in that they're actually redesigning the majority of the models and adding some new things. Like, hell, even the Avatar has been redesigned. Like,
That was
that's
one of the
kind of crazy.
old
Yeah, I mean, that
standbys.
Avatar was from what, 94, I think.
That
Hmm.
sounds right.
And the new one's going to be almost, I think, twice the height of the old one, too.
Obviously, they couldn't resist an urge to make some gigantic model that can't fit in anything or anywhere.
I mean, that's
Having
true.
said that, though, I tend to not love when they make models overly large and whatnot, but I feel the Avatar is maybe one that I'm almost pleased to see. It's a
Mhm.
little bigger and more substantial, and it's pretty large without needing to be like hovering on a pillar of smoke or,
Yeah.
standing on a tightrope or something like that, which Games Workshop sometimes does to sort of elevate the stature. Um, I mean, it's kind of on a rock, but in a minor way that seems fine and you could easily get rid of.
Yeah.
I think it's their first flaming heroic base type thing.
That's true, which admittedly, I've never been a huge fan of like sculpted sort of particle effects and
Yeah.
whatnot. Um,
I
and
feel it's hard to look right, and they almost never look right. Though, if like you paint it well or whatnot, you can often it'll look fine.
Mm.
I think the new Avatar looks great. Like the proportions look
Hmm.
reasonable. He looks pretty fierce and intimidating. They have some different head options that I think are all equally quite good.
Yeah, there's a lot more variety in it than I was expecting. Like the different head options, I think are all nice. There are at least 3 different weapon options, including
Mhm.
like the classic or the classic sword, a spear, and probably most surprising is the axe. And I
Mhm.
think of all of them, I think I like the axe the best, but that's probably just because it looks the smallest of all of the weapons.
Here's
um,
something that I have a question, and this is kind of a lore question that Chad, you're probably the best equipped to answer. Like, tell me something about the Avatar and what that represents. Is that like a channeling of an Eldar god or something into whatever? I don't even remember.
So, I mean, it's supposed to be basically a shard of their war god king.
mhm.
What's his name
And
again? What's his name?
king.
Oh, Kane. Yeah, yeah, okay, Kane.
So, I mean, actually, one of the old computer games for Eldar showed off pretty well. Dawn of War. No, it wasn't Dawn of War. Shit, I can't remember right now.
That strategy
But
game?
yeah, it was a strategy game. It was like hex based. Rights of War,
Yeah.
I think. So they
mhm.
showed like kind of thing where they basically sacrifice an Exarch of one of the aspect warriors, and they kind of come out as the Avatar.
Hmm.
And they come out as something that looks suspiciously like someone like the lead singer of a black metal band, perhaps Immortal or
Yeah.
Flowing locks.
some
Yeah.
other Norwegian black metal band. Which, admittedly, I think maybe, I mean, I guess this classic design is something special just because of the nostalgia. But I do really like the one with the axe and the black metalish looking singer type vibe with the
Well, even
invisible
the like the
oranges and
pose is very like
yeah, I
kind of a
like it.
metal, like kind of dumb pose, but like I feel it largely works.
I mean, I just appreciate options. I mean, you're getting three
Mhm.
different heads, three different weapons. If you feel inclined, you can magnetize it. So it's a lot better than the old metal sculpt where like it was a kind of awkward pose with the bloody hand
and
and the
even
sword
if
and
and
everything.
even if you pinned it, chances are if you looked at it right, it would fall apart.
Oh, it was gonna fall apart. I mean, I bought a metal avatar of Amazon or eBay that I've been
Yeah.
stripping down and working, and just the gap between the torso and the legs is ridiculous. It's going to take a ton of green stuff just to fill that a lot of sculpting. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
doesn't meet on any plane.
Yeah, like you have to pin it probably and then fill
Oh
it
yeah,
in. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess this is one of those models that I think Games Workshop is often very reverent of their past designs, sometimes to a fault. But I think sometimes for some of these more showpiece models, the sculptors are given a little bit more freedom to work with it and do something with it. And I think that sort of comes into play here, resulting in a model that I would actually be excited to have if I
Mhm.
was doing Eldar stuff.
I wish they had shown pictures of the back of the model.
Just
Sure.
gonna have to buy it, Adam.
Yeah, I guess.
And I'm probably a sucker that will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has the
Also,
price been revealed for it?
I don't think so.
Not yet.
$120.
I think at
It,
least.
it's gonna be around 110, 120 somewhere around there.
Is there a
Yeah.
Yeah.
scale image of it standing beside like a smaller model? Have
That's what I've
have been
been
released?
looking for is like a size
Oh,
comparison
there
because
is. At the bottom
There's
of the one
probably a
post.
battle scene
It's like
somewhere.
an Eldar Guardian does
Maybe up to its knee.
sort of up to its
Almost.
knee, not quite. So
it's like
it's big.
my old metal one, like it's probably twice the height of Warp Spider, which I held up to recently.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So I don't know
Pretty
what this is
small.
going to be. It's probably going to be another installer or so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
big.
that's fine. That's workable.
Yeah, admittedly, looking at that scaling, I mean it's big, but they could have made it a lot bigger, and I'm
hmm
glad they didn't.
I wonder, what do people think? Like, yeah, I almost trying to think. Yeah, yeah. For the size of the model, it's not like too cool for school or like standing on like it's 1 foot like the stupid bloodthirster or whatever that you're just gonna
It's
break
not.
off
There's
and
not like
Honda.
a
yeah,
Primaris lieutenant down there to like show you that he's truly powerful.
yeah.
Which one
So
of the 20?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I guess talking about sort of special character like things, I guess they did show pictures of Maugan Ra, which so that
Mhm.
would be their second redesigned plastic aspect or Phoenix Lord. Uh thoughts? How does this one compare to Jane Czar to you, Chad?
I mean, they did some right sizing with it where it's larger than the old one was. I mean,
Mhm.
I have the old one back on my shelf. It's tiny. I mean, it's barely larger than a Guardian.
Mhm.
I mean, they do kind of the heroic rock thing and everything, but I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the helm. But the rest of it, I think, is pretty cool with.
Yeah, it does really seem like the classic Eldar Harlequin sort of thing. Like they just love standing on the ruins of old
hmm
Eldar temples and stuff because, like, we're here. You can't take this from us.
Look
or
how
something.
wide his stance is. What's
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's super wide.
the stance sort of sucks. Like, I
But
think.
that's again just because he's straddling a weird thing that he would
Mhm.
never stand on. Or I mean, maybe he
Yeah.
would. That might be his thing. But
I mean, as always, the gun is ridiculously big.
He
But
looks like Reaper from Blizzard Entertainment's Overwatch first
Yeah,
person
or
shooter.
the death or whatever from
Yeah,
Darksiders or whatever,
Darksiders, that game
or
where you're
whatever
one
that
of
was
the
called. Yeah,
Riders of the Apocalypse.
yeah, it
Yeah, I can
looks
see
like that too. Like Chad, as you were saying, like his helm or his like face mask, like I feel is a little.
it's a Necron head.
Well, yeah, it's not very distinct looking. It kind of just looks like all their other shit from lots of other IPs and stuff. Like it's not.
well, I guess I'm sure we can get into it a little later when we find some pictures of uh the regular sort of aspect warriors. But people sort of criticize them a little bit for their helmets looking a bit like Lego skulls.
yeah,
They
That
do.
I was
they're
hearing a
not
lot of stuff about the thin mouths.
they're not inherently terrible, but it's just like they're not sinister looking. Like this would have been an opportunity to make something that's like terrifying and scary, but they end up seeming more like the Primaris Reaver masks. That's just like sort of like a
Not.
phoned in skull. That it's just like
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
for
like
being
where
good at making skulls, I don't know how Games Workshop is so consistent at making these sort of
like where are all
comical
The
ones.
Wayne England sinister as fuck skulls? Like that's what Warhammer 40,000 was for me essentially.
I mean, I
And
can't say I'm a giant fan of the big banner pole too, with the ribs sticking out and stuff.
yeah, it's a
Like
little much.
that's a little over the top.
Maybe that could probably be
Also,
removed.
one thing,
But
like, they love making huge weapons and stuff, and I knew that was going to happen for this as well. But what strikes me as a little weird is why are, like, the magazines for the weapons, like, they're no bigger than the magazine for, like, any of the other normal Eldar guns.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
a guardian, like
yeah,
a
like,
certain catapult or something.
why is the weapon so big, but the magazines are just as tiny? It doesn't look right. Like I would have thought they'd have some huge dumb looking. Yeah, I don't know. It's
it's
not
a weird
right.
design. Well, maybe we don't have to keep harping on this, but
I feel
it's
this is the
nice to
type of
see.
model.
But
I feel this is the type of model that it's possible that when you see like more pictures of it, different angles and stuff, you'd probably appreciate it more than what you can from like these static pictures. I mean, in their defense, they showed a few different angles and stuff, but I still don't you don't get a great sense. Like you can tell he has this billowing cloak, but like based on like a lot of their sculpts, like I imagine they probably fully sculpted the leg armor and stuff underneath the cloak, which they've started to do that a lot now. So like I
Hmm.
imagine there's probably a lot to like on the model, and but just with some of like the standard caveats that we bring up for like most of Games Workshop models. Um so I don't know, like
I feel this one's maybe a little bit more overdone than some of their
yeah.
others. But I
I mean,
mean,
I think Jane's R was pretty agreeable to the original model.
Like
Where
I
yeah,
this is
think
kind of a
that
departure with the big cloak and stuff.
I think yeah, the Howling Banshee, like Phoenix Lord, like I really like. I mean, some of the flowing like shit like on her weapons and stuff, like whatever, that's
Yeah.
kind of stupid. But in general, it was very in character with what I expected. It was updated in a believable pose, like the anatomy was
Mhm.
good. It didn't just fall in the trappings of most of the other Eldar races. It's more like this is what I would like to see more of the Eldar models looking like. And I guess in terms of this newer Maugan Ra, like I think his anatomy is certainly better than like a lot of the other Eldar stuff.
But it's a little hard to see. But I don't know. I feel this is something we could touch on in the future when like you could see the sprues. Are like I guess they've redesigned this shining spears again. Like I feel they do this often. And looking at them, they're like, or when I see them, it's like, yep, that's a shining spear.
Yeah, I was not that impressed. I'm like, these are
Also-
not that big of an upgrade over the old model, other than it's not resin.
Yeah, so like
Which I mean, I guess is good.
Well, I have a question. So, when was it that they redesigned the Eldar jet bikes? And did they make shining spears with the redesigned Eldar jet bikes?
My guess is they didn't.
So they did not. I actually have a box of shining spears that I'm waiting to assemble and paint. It's still the original sculpts, and then it's just fine cast for the bodies.
Okay, because I think they were originally they had metal bodies and stuff, which was probably
They did.
which was even worse. The
Yeah.
fine cast, while I like hate fine cast, at least when you glue them together on the plastic components, they'll probably mostly stay there.
Yeah.
That's not as much true. So like I would kind of make a wager that the first time the Shining Spears were announced and shown, no one gave a shit about them, and no one still gives a shit about them.
I
Like,
think they look good. They
they
good.
look pretty good, but it's like I don't care about them.
I feel it's hard to be wildly excited about them unless they're like meta breaking. But if you would want them, there's like no question you would want these as
Yeah,
opposed
I
to the
mean,
other ones.
They're
'Cause
completely plastic. They'll actually go together.
the jet bike, while is reminiscent of the original ancient one, it's a lot nicer. I'm sure it assembles a lot better. So like
Yeah.
honestly, this could have been something completely overlooked and just ignored for another 5 years, and it's nice to see they did it. So I feel
I
that's
feel it
kind of a
was
triumph.
pretty low hanging fruit for them, but like there was still
I'm
no
glad they did
guarantee that they would do it, and so I'm glad they did.
Yeah, I think those shining spears were from like 3rd edition, maybe 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
They didn't make a plastic warlock to go on the jet bike, or have they? I don't remember.
They did. There's a plastic
There was a
character model for that.
okay,
That was released with the other plastics, which is pretty nice.
yeah, sort of,
Mhm.
yeah.
All right, what's
I mean,
next?
opposed to the old days where you didn't have any options for that. So
Yeah, that's true.
Also, mentioning the warlocks, they're releasing, I guess, 2 new plastic ones that are vaguely multi-part. I feel these are some of the new Eldar releases. These are some of the nicer models, I think. Part of that is probably since they're wearing the like robes and stuff, it's not as easy to see some of the weird anatomy and stuff.
And since the robes are so thick, it makes it look like their waists aren't pencil thin, which
It's
based on
better.
other Eldar models, they must be. But they also kind of share some of the old classic metal poses, which is fun. Like, and it'll probably be like a box, like a plastic box with 2. Like, so I feel this is a good release, having a bunch of options to make some nice Eldar, and I assume there are a lot of little tiebacks to old Jess Goodwin sculpts, which is cool. Different spears and their wraith swords and whatnot.
So
And I mean, the one is even on like the tactical rock thing, but it's like done in a tasteful way that it's fine.
they're all
They're
on
both on it.
tactical rocks.
The one that's on more of like the surfboard one, I think,
yeah,
seems a little less forced.
But the one that's not on the surfboard, that one is minimal enough that I think you could just cut that shit
Remove
off
it.
and glue them on a
which is nice.
flat
Yeah.
base.
The
So-
one that doesn't have the pistol looks particularly good because it doesn't have one. It only has one oversized weapon.
yeah. So one of the things with these warlocks, the biggest complaint that I heard people making for them was they don't have the fur around their shoulders. Like that, a lot of people are saying like that is one of the classic like Goodwin designs. Like a lot of them have like the little, and like they show
Yeah.
some of the sketches. A lot of them did have like the little fur shoulder cloaks and
Mhm.
stuff, which like I do feel that's kind of a detail that like they certainly weren't in all of the sketches and stuff, but they were in a lot of them, and it is sort of, I would have liked to see that as an option. Though mind you, you could I'm not gonna say easily sculpt the shit on, but you could do it.
Well, I was gonna say of the two, the one on the kind of surfboard stance, I think looks more natural than the other, because
Hmm.
because he's on that slanted surfboard rock, his somewhat widened stance makes a little bit more sense.
Hmm.
Whereas the other one,
Mhm.
he has that wide stance for
So he can
is it
straddle the
height
rocks.
reason?
It's
Oh
to
yeah, I guess
straddle the rocks
yeah.
because he
But I do
wants to be
kind
on the
of
rocks.
find it interesting that they're releasing a lot of these aspect warriors and new sculpts with a bare head and saying it's like Inari or however you want
Hmm.
to say it, stuff. But lore wise, they pretty much dropped the Inari storyline. They haven't done anything with it since Gilman came back.
That's
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
But they keep kind of advancing it through models, so I don't know if there's more coming there or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? I feel the wide stance thing, like so many of the new models have these weird wide stances, which is a bit of
Mm-hmm.
a shame. Which, admittedly, though, some of the newer Guardians are not that way. A lot are, but not all of them. So
Well, yeah. So
I
the
do
that's
think
new,
the
something.
what were you
I do
saying,
think the
Chad?
newer Guardians are kind of a subtle but tasteful upgrade from the previous ones. Like
Hmm.
eh, both the Defender Squad and also the Storm Squad, where the Storm used to be just upgraded heads and arms that were initially metal and then fine cast,
Yeah,
where
what
now
an
everything's in
awful
plastic,
thing
of
to have
course.
to do. Like
Yeah.
having that plastic is such an upgrade.
Yeah, so I think the Eldar Guardians are one of the more, in some sense, like I'm really excited that they're being done. In another sense, like I'm sort of upset with how little they did with them. But in
True.
terms of, there's a clear upgrade from the old ones. Like since they're newer plastics, like the sculpts will be much crisper, be much nicer than the ones that are like 20 years old or something now.
Like the Guardians I have, you guys
Yeah,
literally put together for me in like 2004,
yeah. Um,
maybe.
yeah, maybe. So these like they're certainly much nicer. They have a lot more of the different weapon options just included, such that they'll be easier to use. Most of them have the like comically widespread stances, but there are at least two where they're kind of more like either running or striding forward that I actually really like, because like those are more believable poses. Like you might actually stand like that, whereas like most of the other ones you probably never would. So in that sense, like that's like a great thing for me, is like if I were to want to do a conversion based on like some of these Eldar things, like those two walking slash running legs, like those are the only legs that are usable without significant conversion work. So like that's a big
Yeah.
win.
I think the unhelmeted heads, like the faces, look so much better
They
than the
do.
previous ones. I feel they're a little large though. Like I kind of feel like they're the size of the helmets, such that it would be hard to
Oh, true.
imagine them fitting inside a helmet, which
Well, they
it almost
make
seems a bit of a shame. Like that if you could 3D print them, you could do better. Um, or
because the
just
funny thing
adjust the
is they
size.
even have at least one variant of the head where the lower part of the
Mhm.
mask is on, but you see the rest of the head, and they're like I don't know if the rest of the helmet could actually fit on that head.
Yeah, it
Or
kind of looks like it would not.
or if it did, it would be very like paper thin. So I don't
Well,
know.
it does.
Like
It's fine. It can be the mesh armor. It can deal with that. It's fine.
that's how it
The
was
lore.
designed.
I feel
I
to
mean, one
me
nice
the
sorry.
or continue.
One nice thing with these is because it's kind of a subtle upgrade, you can mix and match with the old
Mhm.
kits.
That is true.
There's a lot more arm options they used to have. I mean, it was pretty much they were holding gun somewhat up, somewhat down, or level. And that's
Well,
about it.
even for this, there's at least one option where they don't have their finger on the trigger. It's like, hell yeah, hell yeah.
They're
Oh
not
yeah.
actively shooting.
They're getting better. And well, the other thing that's nice, um, at least the picture here, the one that doesn't have the finger on the trigger, the length of that trigger finger is actually pretty good because
Yeah.
they have the new plastic Rangers. At least one of them doesn't have their finger on the trigger, and their trigger finger is probably 2 times too long. Like it is.
Weird.
Yeah, it's like remarkably long, where it's like very, very noticeably wrong. And
Yeah. The
so this
only
is pretty
last thing I
good.
maybe would like to mention about these Guardians is there's one that's they pictured close to one of like the weapons platforms. It's like one of the female ones, and with its wide stance and its thin waist and belly
Broad
button
shoulders.
armor, it really suggests how cringy the design sort of looks with their
Hmm.
thong armor, pencil waist, super broad shoulders. Like it. Ugh.
It's pretty bad.
I'm
Yeah,
glad most of the models are hiding that behind their shuriken cannon sized weapons.
Like,
I've been seeing a lot of complaints about the belly button armor.
well,
I
so
mean,
like,
it's been a thing forever for the
yeah, for
design.
the
So
Eldar, they've had it.
I feel that to
Yeah.
me the main thing isn't really the belly button as much as like
Their
it just
waists are
really
the waists are too
emphasizes how
thin.
weird they look.
Their waists are too thin. They almost don't have hips. They hardly have a butt. They have super broad shoulders. It's like
Mhm.
they're really weird looking, and
And
they're
like to
really
me I
weird
feel
and
that's
alien
something.
looking, but they're not the alien looking that they've described to you for years in like the lore and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
To me, it almost seems like they're like, oh yes, Jess Goodwin's sculpts from 1989. They looked like this. It's like, oh yeah, like it was just one guy. They didn't have like much like technology to aid in this stuff. Like you didn't necessarily have to keep exactly that
Hmm.
30 plus years in the future. And it almost
Mhm.
seems like this is holding a little bit too close to the nostalgia because like the illustrations and artwork don't look like this. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a little weird, but
And like Jane Czar, like that Phoenix Lord doesn't look like this, and like Hallelujah, like it looks so much better. And like I was really hoping more would look like that, though, mind you, when they released that Phoenix Lord, it was released with new plastic Howling Banshees that all kind of look terrible like this. So it's like we knew when they revisited more, they weren't going to be what, say, we wanted. But
it's
um
still a lot better than what they had before. So
the old Eldar plastics, the weird like shit over their shoulders and stuff, were they really horrible to like glue together or something? Were they like, I sort of remember they were kind of stupid how they glued
Like
together.
the little like back fins.
Yeah, the back fins and like the little like thruster bullshits over their
So
shoulders.
the over shoulder things were sculpted just into the back piece.
Okay.
It wasn't a separate piece, but those little back fins, like they fall off all the time.
Yeah, so like I'm hoping that, I imagine these sculpts will also be cut in a much better way, such that they like it's much less hassle to assemble them.
Yeah.
I like that they have. There's at least one like smaller looking chain sword, which I think is probably oversized for these Eldar, but they might, with a little work, might work well on other larger scale like Space Marines
on
or
models
whatever.
that like actually matter, Space Marines.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, all of these, if you ever wanted to, like, even you, Adam, if you wanted to convert some stuff, make some Corsairs, pirates, stuff like that, these would be easier to work with than previous Eldar
Also,
stuff. So that's good.
a few years ago, when the Bone Reaper Ossiarch Bone Reapers came out, we had our like little Bone Reaper challenge thing where we encouraged people to try and use some of those Bone Reaper models to make more
Eldar cool.
Yeah, cool Eldar models. And so I sort of we'll see how time permits, but I sort of feel like once they start releasing some of this Eldar stuff, maybe revisiting something like that and having another thing where you take one of, whether it's a plastic guardian or one of the other new things, and trying to make a cooler, or not necessarily cooler, but like an Eldar model that is more in line with like how you envision them. And I guess if you envision Eldar, this is what they look like, that's fine too. But
yeah. Well, what else is being? Was there other stuff revealed, like in the main?
Well, there's the new Dark Reapers.
Oh yeah, the Lego skull Reapers. Yeah.
But one thing I do like about them is, so I know it was always controversial back in the day, even the kind of like pirate hat helmets that they have. They brought that back where they kind of got rid of that earlier.
Yeah, I like it. That's fun.
Yeah, so very interesting. Like, I think in general, these are certainly I would say a pretty big improvement over a lot of the other ones. Like, I think their legs I like their legs a lot, and I could see using the little heavy armored legs on all sorts of stuff. Like, their feet don't look as horrendously oversized as some other Games Workshop models. Like, they kind of
look like
here.
Wraithguard legs in a way.
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
And so like overall, I think that looks pretty good. Their helmets, that was a choice. And like, I can't say that I hate them. They're not really what I would have liked to see them as, but they're fine. I sort of feel like there are probably subtle things that you could do to them that would make them much cooler. Like, even if you just used milliput and like filled in the nose and the mouth and just had like the eyes on like a blank white face, like that probably would have been cooler. And like, I mean, you could pretty easily do it.
Yeah,
I've seen a few renders where people like kind of did that, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, see, like, I think that would be better. The
they
thing
don't
that
have to be uninspired jack-o'-lanterns.
Yeah. Also, if you look at some of the pictures they show on the Warhammer community site, they have at least one side view of the model. And while, as I was saying earlier, that like I really kind of like the legs, I think they look good. The rest of like the body really screams like the torso's way too short. Like, it just doesn't look right. Like, they have pretty long legs, but then no body. It's like, I don't know what's going on there. And then
they don't have internal organs.
Yeah, classic GW, that's right. But I guess, that being said, like, their poses, they're pretty wide, but like, they work a little better for these because you're sort of envisioning they're in some bracing stance or whatever to shoot their rocket launchers or whatever they are.
Reaper launchers.
Yeah, Reaper launchers.
So old lore said that they actually had like things that came out from their boots to stabilize them into the ground.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I don't know, I can't necessarily say with 100% certainty this is new for these models, but I think it is. they decided they were going to do some more, like, we'll say lore building or whatever, by having additional rockets for the Reaper launchers, and
like extra ammo.
yeah, and I sort of feel like they chose, of all the potential options, they literally chose the worst option. An option that is like so bad that I can't even believe they thought of it. Where as to reload their weapon, they literally take off the front of the weapon and slot in another like barrel with rockets. And
yeah, it's not great, especially when old lore was saying like the little ports around the rocket part.
Mhm.
That's where the rockets were supposed to fire from.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was a big missile going off or something.
Yeah, so it's like it's fucking ridiculous. It's a dumb
maybe it's
design.
just to replace. Maybe it's if it overheats, it doesn't work.
So I mean that's
they're replacing the
possible, but
barrel.
like I don't think they thought that much. But it just looks stupid. Like it's too big. It looks stupid hanging off of their butt. Like it looks stupid. And then I was gonna say the weapon's so big, like they would literally have to like set it on the ground to like take the fucking shit off and put the next one on. It's just an awful design. And for coming from a race that were like master artisans who could do whatever they wanted and it was the best ever, like this is
weird,
bad. What were you saying, Greg?
A question kind of talking about the interesting design. What's the deal with a lot of these Eldar weapons having like an extra like protrusion coming out of them?
Well, like that forward stabilizer thing.
Yeah, I thought that was something that's to try and like a grav stabilizer, whatever bullshit that like
that's what I was assuming.
Yeah, like helps like, oh, this is so big, but it's actually not. It's light as a feather. It's like
it just looks like it's maybe a monopod, not a bipod.
Yeah, it's
like,
stupid.
Not helpful, or
it looks stupid. It is stupid. Like,
well, I think this is something you could easily cut off.
You could just cut it off, and
it would look better. It would look a lot better.
I think it would look all right. Just don't put on the
ammunition
extra,
thing.
The ammunition thing. Cut off the phallical member, and like I think it looked pretty good.
Also, it is interesting with this design how they designed it. Like clearly the rockets are supposed to shoot out of those little ports at the front thing, but the rest of the barrel is so short, like there literally is no room for other rockets. So it's like, what's the point of all the other bullshit in that weapon if the rockets are stored in the front thing, they're fired from that front thing? Like what's the point of all the rest of it?
We shouldn't get into Eldar technology speculation anymore.
But you get a little Grim Reaper statue with it, so
that's fine.
I like that. Also,
we couldn't understand their technological advancements.
Also, what is interesting though, all things considered, their weapons aren't that large. Like I would have expected,
not like Maugan Ra.
Yeah, when they redesigned these, they would have made them like twice the size of the older weapons, and they really didn't here. So in that
roughly
sense,
the same size.
It's kind of a win.
That's why I was saying like you could just cut off the phallical member and like pretty good. It's
well, honestly,
you attach the ammo things.
You would cut off the protrusion at the bottom, and then you could also cut with the part where the front part of the barrel like attaches to the rest of the weapon. If you just cut off part of that and just seated the whole thing closer, then it would actually look as if maybe there could be rockets like housed like within some other part of the weapon, and like there would be more of a barrel for I don't know.
Eldar technology, Adam, we have to stop.
I guess one other thing we can say, the leader to the squad of these, the version they have, has like a almost like he's carrying around like a party favor or a like something to trick or treat with or something. It's like this huge skull. Like, I don't know what that's a skull of. Like, it's fucking huge. And then there's like a little handle tied to the skull, or is like, what is that? Like, what is that?
Hopefully there's something else you could do than
It's
that.
like almost like we have to give other cool options.
And we don't have
we
ideas.
need to think of at least one option. People like skulls, right? Well,
it could be a fun grenade of some kind.
Yeah, like I don't want to have to sculpt a hand holding like the skull. Like, we'll just take a closed hand and glue a skull to that and sculpt a ribbon, and
they could have just used the Jess Goodwin's like splayed hand that he did, that then they digitized and put everywhere. But well, I don't know. So we've been going on a little while, approaching 45 minutes here. Do we want to shift into any of the other Eldar models? Like, particularly, there's some stuff for Kill Team, right? Which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, I would think the Corsair is a penny then.
I think the Corsairs
touch on all of those things, but somewhat quickly, because I don't know that anybody really wants to listen to an hour of us talking about Eldar.
Who knows? Yeah. Also, surprisingly, they're releasing Corsair models for like Kill Team, and these are kind of like an amalgamation of both like Craftworld Eldar models and Dark Eldar models with some other.
Tell us what the Corsairs are lore-wise.
So they're kind of Eldar pirates, kind of under. They fled before the fall of the Eldar, or they kind of like left the Craft Lords or Mora and just kind of doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is their own thing? What are they trying to get? Treasure?
Whatever. Yeah, maybe they're looking for treasure. Maybe they're
pirates.
Yeah, they do whatever they fucking want.
Pirates.
So I was very excited when I heard that they were making some of these models. They were kind of exploring this a little bit more. And the first model they showed was the one who has like the little falcon and like an eye patch and everything. And like, I quite like that model. They kind of have an exaggerated pose, but at least they're like walking forward. That's something that you might do. So like, that kind of got me excited. But then when they showed all the rest of the models, like, they really lean in hard on the weird kind of bad GW poses. Like, is it really that's just like, okay, we need to make sure the legs take up the entire base that they're standing on? Is that why they do it? Like,
they're 32 millimeter base. We need to take this up.
Yeah, so like, they're spread so wide. It's like, no one stands like that ever.
Well, Eldar do, Adam. Clearly, Eldar do.
And Space Marines. So the one walking forward with the Falcon, believable pose. They have like a sniper that's kneeling. That's a believable pose, so that's pretty good. And then pretty much everyone else, it's like, what? Like, why? Like, these are not usable.
What do you think, Chad? Were you excited to see these, and is it something that you would like? Yeah, I want to get into Kill Team, or
I mean, I'm not going to get into Kill Team, but the thing I like about these is you do have some kind of like dynamic poses, and then also we haven't seen Sprues yet, but there's probably going to be a lot of weapon options and stuff, which gives a lot of kit bashing possibilities.
Yeah, like, I think overall it's still exciting, and based on how they are kind of an amalgamation of both like standard Eldar, Harlequins, and Dark Eldar, like, I think they're probably making pains to make sure that at least a lot of those plastic kits are relatively interchangeable with some of these. So I think, despite some of the things I don't like about them, they certainly will give you a lot of options to kind of make your own thing with them.
Yeah, I think
So
my least favorite though is the one that they show with the guy with the falcon thing. It's this female one holding like
oh
some talisman or something up. Just the
yeah.
pose and everything in the face is pretty terrible.
Well, so that is the one that you first saw that it's like her legs are spread so wide,
Definitely, yeah.
it just doesn't, like, you don't, no one stands like that. And then, like, I guess it's cool she has all these soul stones and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
why is she just like, okay guys, look what I found? It's
Holding
just
out a Pokemon card or something.
like Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. Card
Clefairy, I
captors,
choose you.
Sakura. Card captors, a mystic adventure.
Yeah.
Card captors, a quest for all time.
Yeah, it's weird. And I think also since her head is so large, it makes the rest of the body look a little weird. Whereas if
Mhm.
you imagine the helmets as like pretty large helmets, like you can kind of suspend that disbelief, but not as much here.
Yeah.
There's sort of a Farseer-esque
They look
No,
pretty
the
good.
warlock.
warlock with the staff. Yeah.
I
I
kind of
mean,
like
they
him.
have the like widespread standing pose, but it works a little better here because it kind of looks like they are bracing themselves because they're using like force lightning or whatever the fuck.
Casting something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
So I
since they're
think
not
that's fairly
holding a
effective.
gun, like, they look pretty good.
Hmm.
Like any of them holding a gun except for maybe the sniper kind of look ridiculous. Like the worst of all is the gunfighter that's holding two pistols. Like they have these huge thigh holsters,
Yeah.
which they're still not big enough to hold their pistols. Like they're not even
Yeah.
close. And then it's just like, does literally anyone think that looks good? Like with the pistols being that big? Like he could barely even aim them. They're so big. It's like he's holding that up to try and look at the target. It's like, oh god, I can't even see my target.
They don't, and
Because
they don't have the phallic anti-grav things, so they're gonna be pretty heavy.
Well, I mean, the sniper does.
Yeah, he does.
There's a little
He
one.
does. But his rifle is like more
one of the
or like better
smallest
sized. Like
ranger sniper rifles I think I've ever seen them produce. So like
Very true.
I'm like, for the most part, pretty okay with that. Like, it looks pretty good.
I think, as you sort of suggested, Chad, I'm excited to see the sprues because I suspect there will be a bunch of options if they're anything like the Orc Commandos or
So
the Deathcore models. So I think we just need to see a little bit more from them. But even if I'm not the biggest fan of it, I'm still glad they're bringing some of the lore back a little bit and focusing on it, which might lead to some more interesting narrative stuff in the future. So I think that's cool.
actually, I have another question. So, or not necessarily a question, more of an observation. So in there, they have on the Warhammer community site, they have the one picture showing the sniper and the pistol fighter, and I hope this is just how they assembled them and they don't need to be like this, but what, both of them literally have a grenade like dangling in front of their crotch.
It's
like,
true.
what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Why is that there? Like, you don't attach shit on your belt, like, right over your crotch. Like, I don't. It looks stupid. It doesn't make sense.
Well, if it's like a lot of the other kill team sprues, like that will be an optional accessory, which is good.
Yeah, I hope that's true.
Right.
I think regardless, you could probably easily enough cut it off, even if it isn't. you just might have to resculpt some stuff. But it's like, that's like the stupid Space Marine models who, like, at their crotch have their stupid, like, marksman, like, badges and all this other fucking bullshit. It's like, come on, like,
Best place for it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Jesus. So, yeah, that's
It's
rough.
just so unnecessary, and I feel in a lot of cases less is more, and in this is certainly an example of less would be better.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess with that, like maybe we've kind of covered most of the model stuff. Is there anything like you feel would be worth talking about? Has there been much talk about like rule wise stuff? And if there is or isn't, is that something that you're interested in?
So I'm not that interested into because I haven't played in I don't know
Yeah.
how long. But I mean, I think it was just released today actually on Warhammer Community where a lot of the aspect warriors are now getting a 5+ invulnerable save
Huh. Okay.
with their aspect armor. Guardians I think moved up to a 4+ save.
Yeah, so they've been slowly revealing new rules and stuff.
Yeah. Like shuriken catapults are now 18 inches instead of 12.
That's good.
Which back to second edition rules where
Yeah.
Well, so I guess one thing that
Hey there, there's a picture of
Oh
the
yeah.
old.
Okay, yeah. So one thing that I think is sort of humorously is a positive in this, like they're showing pictures of like the different aspect warriors and talking about their new weapons, and like they have all the pictures of all like the old fire dragons, the old warp spiders. So like that's a pretty good indication that they're not making new models of those.
Why do you think they've never redone the warp spiders?
I honestly don't know.
they're not that useful in game, and they've also never had a Phoenix Lord. That's my best guess.
That's a good point. That's a good
But like,
point.
it's sort of remarkable, like that they've.
Yeah, I saw it posted. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, like
especially like striking scorpions have been redone like 4 or 5 times. Same with banshees and stuff.
The only thing that I will say that they have sort of redone, so like all of the warp spiders have that weird like shoulder armor stuff. Like they've shown a bunch of like these newer models, like the one leader model, they have an option to have like kind of that shoulder armor stuff. And there might have even been one of the
Corsairs
had like the knife fighter one. So like at the very least, well, it's clear they're not going to make new models for them in this release. They've at least vaguely been reworking and considering what they could do if they make newer models. So,
I mean, really, all the aspect warriors I think will be replaced in the next 2 years or so with the slow trickle that GW tends to do. I mean, it's going to get people like me to buy them again, so why not do it?
Probably a little like how the Sisters of Battle, they released the new army range, and then like a year later they released a few more kits and whatnot. So I'm sure they will.
And I mean, the rest of the Phoenix Lords are probably going to get redone.
The fact that they've started the process, I think, means
exactly. I mean, those sculpts are so old, so why not?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Well, so actually related to that, so like the Phoenix Lords are certainly one of the old classic sculpts that really need to be updated because they don't fit super well with like the newer models. Are there any other like classic old models that really need a new sculpt that we can just think of off the top of our head?
From just the Eldar range or anything?
Or any range, like I'm just trying
to Berserkers.
Dante.
Corn Berserkers are huge.
They're so awful. Yeah, but Dante, you're right. Dante and like some of the other Blood Angel characters, it's like sort of remarkable that they haven't made them yet.
I mean, they did Mephiston.
Yeah, and he's good.
Azrael from Dark Angels.
So I guess that being said, like for the most part, most of the old classic special character models could probably be redone.
I mean, the problem with Space Marines, if they're going to re-release new models, they're going to Primaris them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it'll happen.
I was gonna say Karn the Betrayer, but they redid.
Yeah, they redid him, and they could redo him again, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. David here in the chat says he'd like to see like new missionary and priest models. So that is something, yeah, like I'm sort of surprised they didn't at least make one model like that when they re-released the Sisters of Battle. But I guess when they did that, they just mostly took all those options out of the codex because they weren't releasing models.
I mean, behind the Eldar, the other range that really needs updated is the Imperial Guard.
The Imperial
Yes.
Guard are
They've been sitting forever.
like ridiculously bad. Like they had not had a significant focus.
They should really redesign the Lehman Russ and
everything.
Yeah.
Literally
Okay.
everything needs to be redone. Except for the Hellhounds and the Valkyries and stuff. They look good.
Yeah. It's like it all needs to go. Which I guess the Deathcore models were sort of a sign that like things more of this nature could be done, but nothing else has been done yet. Well,
aside from they released some new sprue to give like new heads and stuff for the Cadians, which was good. They finally did it, but it's kind of like that should have happened 10 years ago. And it's nice they finally did it now, but it's kind of just showing everyone like we don't have any plans to focus heavily on the Guard anytime soon, but like we did this, so don't complain.
I mean, the main Imperial Guard box has been the same since what, 2003 or so.
Yeah, it's been a long time since the 3rd edition, maybe.
Yeah.
The old Eye of Terror.
Yeah.
The retconned 13th Black Crusade.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good old.
The Tyranids could be all redone.
Yeah, it's true too.
Yeah, that's been sitting for a while too. Yeah.
Because like while I still like a lot of the Tyranid models, and they overall like I think the range still looks pretty good. I would like to see ones that their faces are a lot like fiercer and more sinister looking. Like a lot of them now have like comically large eyes. Their teeth are really big.
Yeah, they could do more with that, but I don't know. Perhaps that's the topic for another episode where we wax lyrically about what could be the future for redesigned models.
So I guess we can end this with saying, what is the future for the Eldar? And I think the future for the Eldar is they probably will, within like the next year or two, remake a lot of the Aspect Warriors except the Striking Scorpions. They'll make them, but they won't make the Warp Spiders. I think of all of them,
that won't happen.
That's probably the one they won't redo.
Well, maybe as a final thing, Chad, do you have, of all the stuff you've seen, is there something that you would plan to get first if they're all being released at the same time?
I mean, most likely the new Avatar.
Okay. A good choice. And then I guess with that, do you have any like last words, things you'd like to say about the Eldar or anything other for that matter?
I mean, I'm happy to see them finally get some new models going out. A lot of stuff was still old metal or fine cast, so it's good to see that actually moving to plastic.
Yeah, good. They're focusing on something other than Space Marines.
That'll give it. It gives them a chance to get back to him again soon.
More lieutenants.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, because they're the best.
They are.
They're the best. I guess, well, all right with that. Thanks for being here again, Chad. Hopefully we can have you on again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, with that, thanks everybody for spending the time to listen, and we will talk to you again soon. We did it, everybody.
Yeah, I think it was
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not making new Warp Spider models. They're just not.
I mean, I've seen I was looking up some rumors and stuff earlier. They're on the timeline possibly, but I don't know how much to trust that stuff.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the swooping hawks? I kind of think their models are good.
I
I mean,
kind of
they've
like
been
them.
redone 3 times, I think.
They've
Yeah.
been redone a few times, and for the most part, I like almost all of their renditions. I still would say I think my favorite are the original ones, but none of them are bad, and most
I,
of them are posed relatively well.
I think my least favorite are actually the ones that came out like late third, early fourth edition, like when we were in high school. They had like
Mm.
pathetically small wings. They were so it was a plastic body, but metal wings,
Oh yeah,
Okay, yeah.
that's not.
and they just weren't great.
Yeah, you don't want that. We actually have a whole. I don't know quite where they are, but we actually have a fair amount of like some of the old Hammer Eldar sculpts that I sort of been meaning to like do something with. Probably some of the most exciting I have right here. These are some Rogue Trader Eldar, still in their blister pack.
Jeez.
Let's actually. Can we? Let's see if the camera's working properly. Yeah, okay, it is. Yeah, so these are Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader. What's the cop? 1987.
Jeez.
It
My birth
says. Yeah. And like they're pretty cool. Like they still have the weird anatomy. Like one of these, the one guy in here, I sort of seems to me like maybe sort of a precursor to like the Dark Reapers and stuff, because like they have like heavier like leg armor, and they have like an oversized like heavy weapon of sorts. But it looks
Their
better
helmets are a
than
little
these.
weird. They look like some of the old illustrations from the Codex Imperialis from second edition that I kind of like.
Yeah, and then the other one back here has kind of like a power sword and almost looks like a hand flamethrower or something. Like they're pretty wonky and weird looking, and I kind of love them.
I'm all about that.
Yeah. So I think
Well, it's to
eventually.
me it's weird that like particularly the one that's just has the sword and whatnot. It seems like they have more of a torso and less than a pencil thin waist than the new models.
It's true. I mean, I think that like they still kind of have that weird kind of anatomy and stuff, but like their heads aren't as big, and you can't necessarily tell where everything is in it. And so like they kind of work. They work better than some of the more modern things. Like they still kind of have a wider stance, but it's not as noticeably bad. So I don't know. I quite like these, and I sort of feel eventually I will paint one or both of these because they're cool.
As
and
your
like,
favorite craft world, Adam?
hell yeah. No, I don't even know if I have a favorite craft world. I'd probably just make something up.
What's your favorite, Chad?
I mean, I'm painting everything by Altan. So.
Yeah, okay. That's classic.
Yeah, so these are cool models, and like I sort of feel like there's something that most people haven't even seen them.
Most likely, I mean, a lot of those Rogue Trader models, no one's seen them anymore, unless they're as old as us.
Yeah. Because like these are even before like those kind of the classic Goodwin sculpts that kind of revolutionized what the Eldar is supposed to look like.
I mean, my Eldar Codex still has the like metal guardians and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So yeah.
Supposedly, new Eldar Codex is supposed to be like 150 pages or something. So it's as big as the Space Marine Codex. So hopefully, get some good art, maybe some good lore.
Yeah, so I mean, you would certainly expect it could be big because, like, they have over the years, like, there's a lot, like, all the different Phoenix Lords, all the Aspect Warriors, like, there's a lot.
The craft world stuff.
Yeah, so there's a lot they could do because, yeah, like, they actually had, like, there was like a craft world codex a long time ago.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah,
yeah, wasn't that back with the retcon 13th Black Crusade too?
I think
Or
it
around
was,
that
yeah.
time?
Late third, early fourth, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Good
also
times.
have somewhere I'll have to find him. One of the like concept models for like the Dark Eldar, which looked pretty similar to these two Eldar models here.
Actually,
Oh,
the
there it
Avatar
is.
on the cover.
Yeah, it was a cool cover.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's good.
Sort of related to that, I recently bought the new Dark Eldar Codex because I think I might actually try and play the new 40k relatively soon.
I mean,
And
Drukari.
What are you
Drakari,
doing?
yeah. I don't know. Like, I have to start reading the rules more seriously soon. But
Yeah, I don't know how everything works anymore. Like, it's
yeah,
changed a lot. Like
yeah,
5++, and
yeah. But the new
No
book,
idea.
there's a lot of nice artwork in it. It pretty much
Mhm.
it impressed me. Um, yeah, it looks pretty good. So I don't know if I actually do end up playing a game or two. We'll
Mm-hmm.
probably talk about it at least a little here. I'm still not that excited about pushing so many models around. Like, I don't know if I've assembled enough Dark Eldar models to like actually play a real game. I think I probably have. It's just not gonna be a very good army.
Yeah.
It'll just be like, well, I have some mandrakes. Put them in there.
I mean, based on old point values, I don't know how it works anymore. I probably have 2,500 points of Space Wolves painted,
That's
Mm-hmm.
and
pretty
at least
good.
2,000 of Eldar.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So I don't know.
I
Yeah,
have
That's
so much stuff I have to paint solo. I have a ton of backlog, like everyone.
yeah. Like us, everybody.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Too much stuff to do.
Always. I mean, I try to spend an hour a day painting.
That's
That's
impressive.
good.
That's good. I feel if you can keep just a consistent with it, doing a little like all the time, I think you'll be able to. That's the easiest way to make consistent progress and still feel like you're doing something of value.
It's still
Yeah.
shockingly slow how fast I'm going now. Like,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that. I mean, I sometimes like I think about it like in terms of like the pace that like I try and do at least a little every night working on things, and
mm,
like based on how I often think about it, it's like I want to try and do at least one thing every month, whether that's like paint a model or convert a model. So it's like no matter if like that's my goal, by the end of the year, that means I will have done 12 things. That's not very many.
No, yeah,
um
well.
and
I mean, I have an advantage where I don't do much conversion. I just mainly build and paint.
yeah, like I
I
feel
do almost everything in sub assemblies. Like, I paint almost
Mhm.
everything before I put it together.
Okay.
It's so much
Okay.
easier.
Yeah, like I feel if well, I mean, I guess starting off this year in January, I painted 3 little single part sculpts. So like I painted 3 models. So like that's man, mind you, they were pretty small. But I feel if I had a concerted effort to like paint like old Hammer figures or like what not like that, like I feel I could paint a lot of models
Mhm.
relatively quickly, but I feel I'm always pulled away to
There's
other
always something to do.
projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have a little what this model from 1987. This is a little old like questing knight
Mm.
that I would like to actually I can use go back to the yeah, this old little monopose questing knight that I would like to paint. So I mean,
Is that from like Blood on the Reich?
I think so, yeah. Or one of those.
Old things, yeah.
And so far this year, I've done the old James R.
Okay.
And then the Worst Players I'm working on right now.
That's cool.
That's good.
I mean, it's what 6 Worst Players plus an XR. So
Yeah.
No, I mean that's not bad. Like any progress is good progress.
yeah.
And that is like another thing, which I think we've talked about it before. Like, you really shouldn't be trying to like measure, like, comparing yourself to like what other people are doing, like whatever. Like, it's ideally is like a hobby that you're doing to like find some enjoyment. So it's like whether that's painting or converting or playing the game, like honestly it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, I mainly do it to like unwind, honestly. Like, it's just kind of going really fast to work or whatever, and then just kind of come home, slow down a little bit, sit down, paint, put on podcast, whatever.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
So yeah, that's good. Well, however, you can hobby however you want. And like I think that is one of the things that I've probably has kept us in the hobby for as long as we have been in it. Like, it really allows for you to like essentially engage with it tons of different
however
ways.
you like it.
Because like I guess when we first started with the game with you, Chad, and stuff, like we were playing the game, and like that was a lot of what we were doing. And then like now it's just whatever. It's not really a thing. So like,
I mean, I got away from it until 3 or 4 years ago, and then I finally started doing stuff again. And so I actually lost a lot of my old stuff between several moves. Like I lost at least a Falcon, a Predator, some of just the bigger stuff that didn't fit like a case or something.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got to, so who knows? But whatever at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, the Falcon's still the same from 2003, so
Yeah, that's crazy.
it's still a good sculpt though.
It is. It is.
Well, they released a new variant for the warp or the fire prism or whatever, right?
Yeah, and he did a wave serpent finally, which they didn't have for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that is true. They really didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's up until 2006, 7 or something, they didn't have one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, guys. Well, I should probably
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel it was a good time. We
definitely
had some stuff to say about Eldar, so
we said it.
Yeah, it was nice chatting with you again, and
definitely
good luck with your Eldar.
So I want to see pictures of those warp spiders when you're done painting them.
Oh, I'll send them.
Yeah. Well, sounds good. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Keep on enjoying the hobby. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, over and out.
Yep, see everybody.